Hello everyone, I'm here today with a flip-through video. Normally I have a lot of process videos happening, but now the second half of my Prague album is done. So there's a flip-through today. So this starts with the second half here, this layout. So it was breakfast on that morning. And we loved our hotel that we stayed in. They had a great little breakfast area too, and then they turned it over to a regular restaurant for lunch and dinner. So it was fabulous to have that right there. Breakfast was included in our room, so we didn't even have to pay extra for it, which was awesome. This layout has a flip here, little wood veneer. I wanted to include the extra photo of the building because I thought it was gorgeous, as is much of the architecture in Prague, of course. But that was how we started our morning, so I wanted to make sure that was included. And then these are just some general photos. We did the hop on hop off bus on this day just so it would be easier to get around the city, and we knew that it had air conditioning. It was so hot when we were there that we wanted to at least have air conditioning on the bus. So this was kind of how we started our day here along the river. And then our first stop of the day was actually the Jewish quarter. We thought originally we were going to do the castle first and then come around to do the Jewish quarter. But given the way that the hop on hop off bus was running, the direction that it goes, it was better for us to start with the Jewish quarter, and it actually worked out very well that we did that. So it was a good decision. And this layout, actually, this is not adhered in there. This can be completely removed. I wanted anybody who looks at this album to be able to read this, it is in English, to read the story of why it's called the Old New Synagogue. There is a story behind it. And then just be able to see all the history that goes into it. So I didn't want to totally adhere it. So it's kind of free floating in there in case anybody wants to look at it. And then these are photos from the inside. I had put some sequins over here, and I also have sequins on the other side. So this pocket had to be fused when I put in the sequins on the other side, which meant I couldn't do anything else with it on the inside of the pocket. So this little phrase here is actually on the outside. So hopefully nobody will notice it really, but it's actually adhered on the outside. And then obviously, normally this would sit like this. Somebody would be looking at it on their lap, probably like so, where all the sequins would fall to the bottom, as they should. But can't do that on camera, so I will do it this way instead. So these are just more photos from inside that synagogue. And I do have process videos for most of these, not all. As I got closer to the end, it started coming together really quickly, so I didn't have as much time to do process videos, but a lot of these do have them. I think this is one of them, if I remember correctly. And I love this little "history is fascinating" that I put on there. This was one of my favorite things that we saw in Prague. Just some little chipboard there. And I put another chipboard piece here and stamped on it with stays on, so that came out nicely. Oops, sorry, that's my printer turning off. And there's a flip here, just so I could get an extra photo back there. And I did try to include journaling where I felt like it was needed or where I had a strong reaction to what we saw, because I want to make sure that when I look at this years from now, this stuff will trigger my memory. It'll ring a bell for me, and it'll make it come alive again. So from there, we went over to the Spanish synagogue, which is this. And I didn't put a title on there. I thought about it, but because I have so much info on the next layout, I chose to just leave that alone. I just did the geotag sticker and then left it be. There we go. So here's all the history information on the synagogue that I wanted to include. So that's there. And this is one where sometimes I add stuff. I think I'm done, and then when I go back and I look through it, I add stuff. I did that here. I did add this little strip up here. It felt too white in the background without it, so it's the same paper as here. I had a little chunk left over, so I just cut off a strip and added it. And I think it does help the layout overall. And on these, again, these pictures were so gorgeous. It was so beautiful inside there. I didn't want to detract from the photos, so these layouts are very simple. There's not a lot of extra embellishing. So it's just some phrases, a geotag, a little bit of stamping. There's a tiny phrase sticker there, and that's kind of it. That's the way I want it. And then here, I like unusual angles when I take photos, if I can get them. And this was one of those. And so again, didn't want to detract, so I just put this acrylic piece here, and that's all I did to that layout. I love the full 6x8 photo. Love it. Here I did do some journaling there as well. I had some comments about the interior. Here I had some more sequins in there, so obviously they would be more towards the bottom. Stamped a little bit, put 2 chipboard pieces on, and called it good. Just some architecture photos from around the city. And this was as we approached the castle, and I kind of dread using these style of page protectors because they're so much harder for me to do. But I actually made it work with these photos and then with the castle photos that came after that. And I even got a receipt in there. You had to pay to take photos, so, and that's super cheap. So I kept the receipt and put it in there. And then I had a lovely die cut, and I believe this one is from Petticoat Parlor. And it worked perfectly for the size I needed, and it worked color-wise, so I had to fit that in there. These are more things from the castle. This is a brochure, and I think this is the one that's actually in Czech, so you can't read it, but there's a map in there. Yes. So it at least shows the layout of where we were going, but all the wording is actually in Czech. They probably did have one in English, I'm guessing, and I just grabbed the wrong one. Or maybe they handed this to me, I don't know. But that's the one I have, so I'm just gonna keep that in there as it is. So this layout is once we moved into the old palace. Lots of detail in here. Look at this ceiling. I love it. It's very kind of Spartan compared to the rest of the areas of the castle that we saw, but that's okay. It was very elegant still. And then these are some of the Czech crown jewels were on display. Obviously, that doesn't get used anymore because they don't have royalty, but from the old times, that's pretty cool. And then this was St. George's Basilica. And when you think basilica, or at least I do, I think really ornate, you know, crazy gold and things happening. That's not how this was. And I'm not sure if it never was like that or if it was stripped at some point or what. But the inside, so you can see this part isn't very ornate here. But the inside, I mean, the painting and everything is beautiful, but it's not overly detailed or ornate. It's quite simple, actually. Which is okay, because when I get to St. Vitus, oh my gosh. It's like gold overload in there. Gold and silver. So as you can see here, they're very rough hewn walls here inside St. George's, but it's still gorgeous. So that's part of the ceiling there. And again, I just wanted to keep these simple. So minimal embellishments, a little bit of gold here on the card. And then this is actually kind of an opposition of the rest of what you see. These are the same church. This is as you come out. I think they actually built that part on. And now this part was like crazy ornate. But it's just a little vestibule and then you walk outside. So I found it kind of weird that it just felt sort of tacked on at the last minute or something. It didn't really match with anything else. So my friend and I, we both found that a little odd. Then we decided we were going for the big boy, St. Vitus. Look at that cathedral. It's fantastic. Very imposing when you walk up to it. This is the facade at the front. So you can see, look how detailed that is. It's crazy gorgeous. I had some things to say about that too, so I want to make sure that they got included there. And some more from the outside here, then we move into the interior. And I like having an insert here just to add a little something extra. I liked the detail here, so I wanted to make sure that that was included. And then all the stained glass. I'm not a believer, but I like to go into churches for the history and the art. I mean, this is art. It's fantastic. So I spent a lot of time just looking at windows. Some more sequins in that pocket. I thought the light coming in at that angle was kind of cool. There's confessionals here, and I liked that it had this lovely purple hue, so I worked that in elsewhere. More stained glass. This was more of a horizontal piece, whereas the rest of them were pretty vertical, so this one was a little bit more unique, I thought. And I mean, just more sequins here. Just look at how ornate this is. It's kind of crazy. So if you're ever in Prague, don't miss this. Like, you'll never see anything like that again. So I wanted to make sure all that got in there. I included some history about the different tombs that are in there. And then I did a process video for this, and then I actually changed the layout after I did that. I decided to move some photos around, and then I added this photo flip so that I could get more photos in and in a different configuration. And then this is it's kind of funny because this is not the tomb of St. Vitus. You would think it would be because that's the name of cathedral. Nope. This is the tomb of St. Vitus. Very, very simple and small compared to what you saw previously. Another stained glass window that's lovely. And then this is kind of the side of the cathedral, and look at all that gold. It's just spectacular. You have to see it. Even just seeing a picture doesn't do it justice. You have to see it in person. And I loved all the gold, so I tried to work in the yellow here as well. And then this is the Golden Lane, which is just a row of like little shops and cafes. Now, it used to be living quarters back in the day when the church was more active and first built, but now it's just little shops and things, and you walk down the lane and then you come out at this viewing area, and it is spectacular because look at this. You basically see all of Prague laid out right in front of you. It was pretty amazing. We spent some time just standing there in awe, just gaping at the city landscape. So I did write a little bit about that as well because that was pretty breathtaking. And then later, after we were done at the castle, we had found the John Lennon pub previously when we were looking for the Lennon Wall. We decided to go back for dinner because the menu looked fantastic, and it was great. We had a really, really good meal there, so you can see our photos. There's some more. And then I wanted to feature the inside as well because they have a John Lennon's pair of glasses there. And then they had lots of memorabilia that have to do with the Beatles and particularly John. Very British looking on the inside. And then here, notice it says, we paid for this. We had a horrible experience with a photo tour that we had booked. I wrote about it on TripAdvisor and I reviewed the company online. It was awful. I would never ever use them again. And so I tell the story of that here. So we ended up not doing that photo tour, but we got excellent pictures anyway. So it worked out okay. And then we ended up having a free evening because it was supposed to be a night tour, shooting at night. Well, we had already shot the Charles Bridge previously, which was our big deal that we wanted. So we were like, you know what? We're just walking away. We're not going to do this tour. The guide is a jerk. We're done. So we ended up having a nice, quiet, late evening in our hotel instead, which worked out just fine. And then this is actually the next morning when we were taking our train back to Munich. So this just shows and tells the story of trying to, first of all, find the right platform in the station. That was a challenge. And then we were on our way, and this was while we were still in the Czech Republic before we crossed into Germany again. So that is my complete Prague album. This is the whole thing. First half, second half, all done. So thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoyed me seeing put together this album. Thanks, everybody.